Hello, 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 and welcome to Rockin' the Love.
I'm Gil,
I'm Robyn,
and
and
we are your hosts here at Rockin' the Love. In fact, we are the creators and the makers of this podcast. Why? Because we like it and it's fun. Isn't that true?
it is true and it's needed. And so basically, what our show is about is relationship. And as you've probably learned by now, that you're in relationship to everything. And so it's really about how do we bring the love to everything we do and finding the love and all that good stuff.
Find the
So we'd
love.
like to explore all the different topics and we'd love for you to explore with us. So I'm glad you're here and just want to say hello and welcome to Shay Michelle. So excited she's out there because it's not the normal schedule anymore, but maybe she's back on track. And Shay Michelle is also going to be one of our guests in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks.
Yep.
Time is flying. But anyway, 2 or 3 weeks.
And that's
2
okay.
weeks.
You'll hear more about it, but we're excited to have her as we enjoy having lots of different people. We have been, haven't had as many guests as we've had before, but we are open to anyone that's interested, and we would love to have conversations. In fact, part of the whole idea of doing conversation on the show is to at least have conversation through the texting process and to hear from you, hear your comments, answer questions, hear your disagreements, whatever it is.
It's all important. It's all relative. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, today our show. Do you have a show today? Well, first of all, today our producer is not here. So if it gets a little clunky, you can blame him.
Yeah, it's my fault.
But today our show is about what's the title?
The title is Money. Honey? No, it's the second
I know.
half.
There's a second part, but it's basically
Oh my God.
I created it. He typed it out on all of our information, and yet here we are. So basically, the important part is money, honey. Money,
Yes.
honey. Because in a relationship,
Money, the other honey.
the other honey. There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
We knew it had something to do with sweetness. All right.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about money and your relationship to money and what it does to a relationship and all those good things. So bring your questions, answers, thoughts, all of those things in a little bit. But first, before we do that, let's talk about our week.
Let's talk about our week. Well, we had a good week. It's been good. We have a lot going on. And, we say that all the time. But this week we had a guest come and visit us, and somewhat not unexpectedly, but somewhat unexpectedly. Certainly the time frame was a little unexpected. Got here a little early, and we ended up spending a lot of time and having a really good time. We just spent our last night together last night at the baseball game for the local AAA team here in Albuquerque. There we are, the Isotopes, and it was fun. It was a great game. And then the rain came and the lightning and the thunder and the pouring rain. And it was fun to watch them try to cover the field real quick and do all that. So, it was eventful. And then the rain stopped and we went and got in our car and came home.
Yeah, it was good. It was really nice. I mean, it was, I'll say, first of all, the week's been very relaxing because we haven't had our godson here. He's visiting California, his mom and his brother, and starting to move back that direction. So we just haven't had that stress. And taking even the stress out, we just haven't had that third person in the house who's a teenager.
Yeah.
Because that teenager thing is no joke. And so it's just been nice to have that space that every time we turned around, we weren't answering a question or telling somebody not to do something or, whatever. So that's been really nice. And then our friend Mitch came, who I don't want to say he wasn't really a friend, but he wasn't a close friend. I mean, we didn't really know him. We know him.
More of an acquaintance and a knowing from being part of the same group, so you kind of assume you know.
Right.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you kind of have this affinity just because, but we never really spent time.
right. And you know somebody in the certain way they show up at your center or in your group, or so it was great, because we really got to know him and spend time with him. We explored some new restaurants here, and well, the Isotopes. He stayed extra days to go to the Isotopes. And my hats are no joke. My LA Dodger fan hat is because that's who I am. And so, like, sports are super important to me. So it was really, really fun to share that with him. And he used to be a sportscaster, news person. So it was just fun.
And he loves going to different baseball stadiums, etc.
That's what we do.
So I was like, well, then we really ought to try to go to a game while you're here.
Yeah.
And last night was the first game that was available. So
it was fun. So it's been a good week. It's been a good week. We have new guests flying in today.
That's right. Yep. Today we have good friends from Oakland and bringing musical talents and just being able to hang out with them is exciting. Another friend that comes in on Saturday.
And then we have the 1-year anniversary of our event at our center called Solid Grounds.
Solid Grounds Music Cafe.
If you are all interested, tune in here. Well, I don't know where you are, but go to the New Thought Media site.
7 p.m. Mountain Time. And
on Friday night.
Friday night. And it's Solid Grounds Music Cafe. And this week, like I said, we've been hosting this at the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living for the last year. This is the 1 year. We started on June 14th last year, and this is June 13th this year. So we are celebrating the year.
And we have like 4 or 5 different acts, and
yeah,
it's just going to be fun.
And if you have a bent at all towards any kind of new thought music, there might be a little angle to that tonight, in addition to the normal. But some really excellent musicians. So there you go.
And different kinds of music,
mm-hmm.
like a jazz trio, and then some other stuff, soul and R&B, and anyway. So that's gonna be fun. So it's a good week.
Yeah. I was thinking though, as you were describing the week without our teenage godson, and my continued thinking that I was never like that as a teenager. I realized that maybe I'm wrong.
What?
I know.
What?
I know.
Alert the news media. Why?
Well, because, I was getting ready to leave for college. Graduated high school and literally my mom could not get me out the door fast enough to get in my car and leave. She was so over me.
I'm sure we all have had aspects of just being a kid.
Yeah.
And just being a teenager and just being not knowing what we know we know now, which is now we do it the right way. Well, but anyway, there's that aspect. And of course there's aspects that are annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And what I know is that I didn't do half the things he did, not only because I didn't want to, but I wouldn't have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way if I didn't. I mean, not that my house was strict, because it wasn't, but it just wasn't. It wouldn't have flown. Like, you couldn't have not done the dishwasher or whatever.
You didn't test it in my house. It wasn't so much that it wasn't going to happen. You just you kind of knew where the line was, and you didn't. It was like, well, there's a certain place at which it's like, yeah, that I don't want to, but I know I got to. So it's going to happen. I will spend the next 2 hours out in the backyard cutting up the branches that, whatever.
That I didn't care if you cut down.
Yeah, that's right. I thought they looked fine,
I don't know why you do all this extra work. Yeah, there's that. Anyway, it's all good. It's just we. It's just I do realize the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just interesting, especially in this world of where we try to alleviate our stress and look at what's causing and what's bringing up for us and things. So it's been a great teacher.
Yes. Yes. And it's been a process to sort of settle down. Also wanted to just bring back that Shay shared with us so we remembered specifically that she's here on June 25th. And we'll be talking about radical self-love and self-care with her, which I think sounds like a wonderful topic to discuss and discover, because whom else are we more in relationship with than ourselves? And if we can't take care of ourselves and love ourselves, well, speaking from experience, you don't do so well doing it for others. So, we've all been through the times when either we weren't or maybe we're in that spot now. And it's good to look at how can we up our game in taking care of ourselves. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. And as if that wasn't good news enough, it is now, oops, time for the good news. All right. So, what are you pointing to?
Comments.
Darn it. He's trying to tell me what to do.
Okay.
Here. So, go ahead with your good news.
My good news, ladies and gentlemen, is this. So in Boston recently, Amtrak built a new tunnel. And in the building of the new tunnel, they raised 100-year-old townhomes, took them out because they were in the path of the tunnel. And they had to do, which is a little confusing. I don't know why these were located underground. But anyway, they had to take out the townhomes. But they were intentional about preserving whatever relative old stuff there was, if you will, flooring and cabinetry and those kinds of things. And the company that they hired to take care of that came back to them pretty quickly and said, "Hey, while we understand that you really want us to preserve this stuff, there's a lot of other stuff in these places that is like really good." They have appliances and all kinds of different things in them. So what they've done is they've pulled all this stuff out, and there's refrigerators and ovens and those kinds of things, and then there's cabinetry and there's windows and there's all kinds of things that people could use, either that are like dated, if you will, from a long time ago, or they're very current, and they're free for anybody that lives in that community.
Wow.
In the community around where those were, and other people can come in and apparently shop for some of that stuff and buy it. So anyway, what I thought was interesting about it was one, that it was honoring the people of the area, and also that it was really clearly thinking about how do we not throw everything away. How do we shift this idea that just because we don't need it right now here, it's not
Right.
good,
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with that concept. And besides, I had no idea that Amtrak still actually had enough money to build a tunnel. So that was interesting. They must have started this a little while ago.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so people are like, hey, anything you need, if you're remodeling or whatever your home, you can find it, there.
So many thoughts are coming to me. I just think that's so we it's just what comes up is the saying that all that we have, we need.
Mhm.
You know, we say that all the time in that metaphysical way, but it's really true in the other way. I mean, it's just so much, there's so much stuff in the world.
There's so much stuff. And that does go to the metaphysical idea that everything is energy, right? Everything is there. Everything comes from the same place. It's all, there's no lack of anything.
No.
There's no, you know,
And I love it, like when we see houses that are redone with all recycled stuff and things, and they're exquisite.
yeah.
So that's beautiful. Well, that's a great story. My story is a story that's near and dear to my heart, as we have many people in our lives that have had lung cancer and passed away or been diagnosed with it and are living with it now, or whatever the story is. And this is a story about a grandfather in he's over in the UK, and he was diagnosed with it with advanced lung cancer when he was, I think, 74 years old. And well, first of all, lung cancer, the what do you call it? The diagnosis,
The prognosis.
prognosis is that you will live for 4 months.
Yeah, it all depends on how advanced it is. But if you have advanced lung cancer, it seems to be very short term.
It's 4 months,
Yeah.
basically, and uh, and so and around, yeah, so around 50% of the people with lung cancer die within 4 months is the diagnosis, and 5% of the patients will still be alive after 5 years, according to cancer research. But this 76-year-old, 76, was advised that he could, get the radiation treatment, or he could try a new therapy that they were testing out. And so he opted for the new therapy, and it was a treatment called, okay, here we go. Pembroil. I'm just saying in case anyone wants to look it up. Pembroilizumab, and it's sold under the brand name Keytruda. And so, he took this thing. He did this therapy, and he was later. It's apparently it's very expensive, but after receiving the treatment for around 2 years, he was told that he was officially cancer free.
Wow.
Yeah, and considering that he had such an advanced rate of cancer, the odds were not in his favor, and so even though it was expensive, or the medicine is expensive. I think they said it was like would have been like 113,000. It worked, and I think that's amazing, and it just speaks to. I think so many of our medical things. I think there's things happening, and I think there are solutions coming. Should they see the light of day? I think that there is, great hope at the end of the tunnel, and people have been working really hard and diligently.
And if we can continue to, if we can move toward that space of really honoring what's important instead of what builds somebody's wealth, we will see a lot more of it. There is so many things in the medical world and in other parts of our economy that have been pushed aside because somebody paid a couple $100,000 to buy whatever it was, and then they put it on a shelf somewhere because what they're selling, they can keep selling, and it's a lot more profitable. And so anyway, That's my editorial comment. I think as a people, I think we're moving toward that more compassionate side of, hey, it's time to not just look at what the bottom line is. Let's look at what's important.
Yes, and I think medical science has proven how amazing it is, from separating people's bodies that are born together to, all of these things. I think that, medical science is so advanced now, and so much happening. So I just knowing that they use their powers for good, and that it benefits all of us, and that nobody has to suffer again from losing a loved one like that, because it's a horrible, quick diagnosis.
Mhm.
So on that note, we are going to take a little break and come back and talk about money, honey, the other honey. I'm excited. I think it's very exciting. So get ready, get your stuff, go get your drink, sit down, and spend a little time with us. And give us your thoughts on money and the energy of money in your life, and how it plays a part. Okay? All right. We'll be right back here on New Thought Media Network. Thanks.
Oh no, we're back, but we're not supposed to be. Hang on just a minute while we give you some more good information.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
We're back.
Back for real this time. Hi, everybody. I'm Gil,
I'm Robyn.
and we are here bringing you Rockin' the Love, and grateful you're sharing it with us today. And what are we talking about today?
Money.
All right.
The other honey.
The other honey.
So let's just talk about money in general.
Okay.
I like it.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely an energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know for us, we always harken back to those days in the beginning when we were first married and when we'd have to discuss money, and it would become a point of stress.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, money for us worked in a stressful way. And so every time we talk, we like get frustrated, and we tried, finally we tried making it nice, and we tried being out in public so that we could finish the conversation. And we sat in the Starbucks, and we finally made it through. And but it definitely brings an energy. And
Well, in that light, wouldn't it all be better if there just wasn't any money?
why?
I just mean because obviously it stresses a lot of people, and it creates a situation where some people seem to have a lot and some people seem to have very little. Isn't that the fault
But
of
then,
money?
well, no.
Okay.
I mean, that's like saying, why have any food? Because there's people that are starving, and there's people that, whatever. No, I mean, it's all.
It's an interesting analogy. That's good. That was interesting.
But right, I mean, if you don't just take away the thing that gives you stress,
Mm.
I mean, it's about learning how to be with it or deal with it, in my opinion. Solely my opinion, folks.
Well, it's such an interesting thing because, I was thinking about the other honey, the thing that sometimes people get really, really focused. We get really focused on money. Like it is the thing that we are in love with. It's more important than other relationships. It's more
Right.
important than anything else. And I think that's a bit of a danger, as well as saying it's just too hard and let's forget about it and not talk about it. I mean, I think there's two sides there that are very different. And we've all heard, money being the root of all evil, and yet really it is the love of money that's the root of all evil. So the other honey, when it becomes your other honey, then that's where you begin to get into struggles, I think, with money. Because money itself is what you said it earlier.
Energy.
It's just energy. It's just a way to exchange energy. That's all it really is.
Right. But I think, when we counsel couples, or when we talk to people who are, planning to get married or working on their relationship, there's a part where we talk about what you're bringing into the relationship. And I think we bring in our relationship with money, just like we bring in our whole past, right? So, I mean, I think there's things about money culturally, how it's viewed in different places. I think there's things about how my family lived and how your family lived, and how the bills got paid, and what kind of job you had to have. I mean, things that might have been emphasized in your house weren't necessarily emphasized in mine, and things that were important in mine weren't. So we come into a relationship and we don't talk about any of this, really. We just kind of, it's all good, we're having a good time. And and then when sometimes you get married or in a different relationship where you're each responsible, and it becomes a thing.
Well, because like everything, because we have different opinions on how it works, and so
We do it differently.
and we also, I think we hang on. There's a lot of stuff around money. Period. There's just a lot of stuff around it, and there's fear. There's fear that there's not enough. There's belief that I don't deserve it. There's all kinds of things that play off of that aspect of it. There's the fear of it that causes people to just be so focused on getting it, that nothing else is that important. because if they don't get it, they won't be okay, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's all of those things. But so if we start, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Yes, but you're doing great.
I'm a great interrupter.
You're fantastic.
Go ahead and finish.
No,
'cause
I was
thought.
really done. No, I want to hear your thought because I wasn't going anywhere.
So I wanted you and our audience, our listeners, the hidden ones, we see you, to take a moment and just think about your first real encounter with money. Whether it was good, it was bad, someone, paid you for your first babysitting job or paper route or whatever it was. And just think about that for a minute. And think about what that was and the feelings around it. So I don't think this was my first experience necessarily with money, but what came up for me was when I was 9 years old and I went to open my first bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so exciting. Oh my goodness. It was so exciting. Of course, in that day you got the passbook and they stamped it and all those things. So it felt very authentic. But it was so exciting to think like, now I had a place for my money. Well, I don't know where my money was going to come from other than my allowance, but it didn't matter. I mean, it was like a rite of passage. So that was mine. What about you?
I was thinking when you said it was just about how I remember setting up a lemonade stand when I was like 10, and calculating all the money and how much it cost to buy things and how much we were selling and all that stuff, and realizing that you could make money. you could create income, if you will.
Yeah.
And
so I'm wondering, like, probably I should have said first, think about your ideas about money now, and then gone to the first one, because look how positive and how like full of promise, and like it's a whole different energy than if you say something to me about money right now. What comes up is, oh, what I don't have and what I need and what I want right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not saying I don't go to gratitude for all that I have, but I do have to take a breath and acknowledge the work I'm doing to just make sure that the bills are paid, kind of thing. And
and can we have that love and excitement about money now? I mean, I think the more we can have that in our lives now, the more we will see it in our lives now.
Yes.
The more we will experience it in our lives now. The more that we approach it that way. It makes me think of T. Harv Eker talking about, when you see a penny on the ground, pick it up, because and say, I'm a money magnet, because it doesn't matter how much it is. It matters how we respond to that energy
and how you treat it.
So if you walk over a penny, then you are treating it as if it is worthless.
And you can't have a dollar without a penny.
Right.
You can't. So it's recognizing the value no matter what it looks like.
And I think, it's easy for us to look at certain things and go, oh, I don't like it, because there's not enough. There's not enough there. We can't do that. And that doesn't allow us to, I think if we treated it like the other honey, like the really sweet stuff you put on a muffin, if you treated it that way, I think it would be so cool, because it's so exciting when we put that on our muffins.
It is. Let's see. Shay says, I am very excited about prosperity and money right now. I've been doing the Oath of Manifestation by Cheryl Ward since January 1, every single day. And since then, I have been earning more money.
Aha. Somebody mentioned that they were doing that the other day as well.
I have signed a mentoring client for a 6-month contract, taking a rental that is a 400 a month or more, that is way nicer, and I am looking forward to having more clients and more prosperity. Absolutely. And what's happened, if I may surmise, is that the vibration of money, because you're doing that work and taking that oath of manifestation and really living into the words and the vibration of that excitement, you're opening up to more excitement, more possibilities, more. And I think that's important, I mean, because we get poor money. I think money gets a bum rap a lot. We really, we're so mad at it when we don't have it, or when it doesn't look the way we want,
or when it's not enough to do what we think we need to do in the moment.
Yeah.
So we don't even respect or we don't care about that bit that comes to us, or we step over the bit that comes to us because we think that's not enough and it won't make a difference. And I think, for me, I've been really working on this idea of knowing that there is enough always. There's always enough, and I am open to receiving it however it shows up.
And I want to comment on that. And then, this isn't about you, but this is.
Well, then why are we talking about it?
Yes, I've been married for 23 years to him. But I want to say that, you say, I've been working on knowing that there's enough. And I really think even that I get that you're explaining, I'm not criticizing that, but I'm just saying as a tool, because I think this is part of what Shay's bringing up. As a tool, it's beyond the knowing. I mean, knowing that there's enough. That there's not enough. You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
Whatever you just said.
Knowing that there's enough,
yeah,
and being open to receiving it.
Yeah, I think we have to live from that place, as opposed to not enough, and like really, really stepping into that. I think even more than the words, because we all know about affirmations and all the things that we've learned in this lifetime, and the vibrational aspect of it is so important.
Yeah, and it's more than knowing there's enough. It's seeing the bounty, seeing the perfection in the supply. It's not like knowing it's out there. It's like knowing it's right now. I think that's where I'm moving, where I want to be all the time, is knowing it's right now. And however, that I can know that it is there. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to look for it.
And I think money is such, a lot of people will say, I don't care about money or whatever. But it's such I don't know what the word is that I want. But it plays such a big role in other ways, because I think it really it really plays into all the other relationships, like trust and self-worth and things like that, just like personal things. I mean, it guides you in those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of it is about what is the feeling tone of what my life is. And if I am not living in the feeling of what my expectations and what my desires are, then how can I receive it? I'm not in the right vibration. I'm not in the right place.
Yeah, and we've all been taught that money is power.
Mm-hmm.
There's and it can be, as is love. as could be many things, but we've given it that place that it determines a lot of what we do based on the way we run it, we live our lives. So I think the healing your relationship with money is so important. Okay. Shay says, I couldn't work for many years and I was graced with an income that I really deserved.
Tell us more about that, if you can.
Yeah.
I want to be sure I'm hearing it. So,
Go ahead.
So I think about how much our knowing that we deserved it, as she mentioned, is important. Because I remember the time you and I sat down and figured out how much money we had, how much was coming in, how much was happening. And we discovered that we had a lot more money that came in that year or whatever it was than we even imagined.
Right.
And we immediately figured out ways to shut it down.
Well, but don't say it like
intentionally.
that. Not intentionally.
No.
I mean, but the minute we had the reality check that, oh my goodness, we're okay. We have a sufficient supply. The next thing we knew, it was, everything was waning in another way. And I think that's important because I think that comes into the old story, right? So, what are you afraid of? What story are you perpetuating? I mean, like, I'm going to, if you are like, I'm the man, I'm the provider, I should have blah, 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 and all of a sudden you realize you don't, or you do, there's different realities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that it brings up things in us, and so whatever old story, which I think that was part of your story,
Mm-hmm.
comes up. I just want to go back to Shay for a minute, who says,
Back up, go to the previous comment. When I was struggling so much, I was so grateful for what I did have. Okay. I was just grateful to have a roof over my head and all the food. We might have missed that one. I think we did.
Yeah, we missed it.
That's what happened, Shay.
Look at you. Maybe you should be our producer. Back up. Back up, kids. Excellent.
Thank you for helping us understand what we missed there. All right. Yes. That is really, for me, that's a huge thing is can I be and will I be grateful for what I do experience, what I do see, for what I do know about what is mine, even if it doesn't look quite like I'd like it to, or like I thought it would, or whatever. But having gratitude for what we have, for what is there for us. And that's really important. That's incredibly important.
Yeah, it is. And I can't believe we only have a few more minutes, but I think that it's so important to talk about where do you go from there? How do you how do we heal this? How do we even become aware? Because on some level, money is really the silent voice in our relationships at times.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we say it's a silent voice in so many relationships, I mean, our own relationship to it, in addition to significant relationships relationships with significant others, and relationships with employers, and relationships with employees, and all of those things. There's this whole thing about money and are you honoring my worth and my value? And gosh, I couldn't take that job that pays too much. All those things that show up for us. Yeah.
Shay. I'm still constantly working on it. Believe me, another thing I've done for my prosperity is to say no to money when it comes to me from a place that is not in alignment with my values.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to talk a little bit about that. I turned away an investor because he wasn't treating me the way that I deserved to be treated, literally like $1 million. And since then, I have still been prosperous. Plus, I have my integrity. Again, I'm going to say that speaks to the vibration. That speaks to trust and faith and knowing, standing in a place of this isn't it. I'm open, listening to spirit, knowing that, oh my God, what if I don't take it? And what if it doesn't happen? And, and going into that place of fear and that low level vibration. And I think that's why it's so important in a relationship, like communication, to really be able to discuss with your partner and even your relationship with yourself, to sit down with yourself. And like Shay said, be able to know, no, I'm not taking this deal unless it aligns with all of my boxes, unless I really feel an integrity.
Well, I think that is where the money as power takes hold. Is, do we allow money to somehow have power over us? So when somebody says, here's something for you, and we know it's out of alignment, but we allow it into our lives because we want the money, because the money is more powerful than our integrity, and I think that is a really powerful thing to look at and to know, and to be able to say, great, thank you very much, and this isn't quite what I'm looking for, and know and trust that that is not a denial of your abundance.
Right.
That's not a denial of what you deserve. In fact, it's a statement about what you do deserve.
And what's possible.
And what's possible. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that, especially in relationships, it's really important to get clear, to have that space to be able to talk about it. Gil and I were raised very differently.
We were.
His family was, his family was very, you guys probably had a spreadsheet with check bills and with the month.
I think, I don't know, the spreadsheet wasn't quite the thing then, but in terms of at home, but we did have the list of things. What I do remember, I can tell you this, in my parents had a desk in the family room because there wasn't another place to have it at the time. And there was a file drawer at the bottom, and the file drawer had files, and every file had cash in it for the car insurance, for the house insurance, for the whatever it was. And that way, and the groceries. So, the groceries, you'd pop in the $40 that was available for the week, and then that would get spent. But the insurance only got paid every 6 months. So you'd put in the $40 you needed to for that paycheck, but then you'd have to keep putting it in until there was enough when the 6 months showed up.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that was the spreadsheet, if you will. It was all organized and laid out and very clear. Yeah.
So I think, but it's important to just talk about money, and to talk about, because like one of the things that I've come to appreciate about Gil, but drove me crazy, was that he would tell me, he still does it. When we go to the store, he'll be like, oh, the Kleenex isn't on sale. I don't care. I need to blow my nose. That's the way I function. If I need it, then there's a way to have it. That's the way I function. He functions on, oh, we could wait another week because there's still Kleenex at home or whatever, which is great. There's nothing wrong with either way. But I think what's important is to understand each other's way so that you don't kill each other.
That's true.
And to have those conversations. I just want to, Shay has more to say. Let's see.
We saw that one.
Carolyn Miss calls that the prostitute. I will not sell myself out for money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the selling your soul to the devil kind of idea.
Yeah.
And she thinks that's very funny. Ah.
So yeah, but being able to have that kind of conversation, and then being able to whatever works for you, but being able to create some kind of sacred covenant together, some contract, some understanding of money and how to move forward.
And I think the thing to acknowledge for all of us is that we probably all have things to heal around money. And we were all pretty much, to a person, taught things that we shouldn't have been taught about money.
I know, I'm still looking for that damn tree it grows on.
Yeah, really. Right. And the things we were told and so I know that I found that in my rebellion against some of those things, I've made very poor decisions about money. Because I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to, so it's understanding like where we need to move ourselves so that we can be recipients of all that there is in life for us.
And along with that, what you're saying of making poor decisions, I just want to warn everybody that if any of this resonates with you, you also don't have to go to the minus phase to prove that you're a good manifester.
That's right. Don't do it.
Save yourself that step. Just trust. I used to just manifest right to the point that was enough. There was no lack in my life. I could take a vacation whenever I wanted or do whatever I wanted, but I would manifest that much money, period.
And like the day of.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes, And unfortunately, we're still working with that a little bit here in this house. But you don't have to, go the opposite to prove the truth. Just know. And I think it's really about going back to that first experience or any experience with money that brings you that joy and that excitement of like when you received a big check, when you did something, that was that you valued and it brought you prosperous results. So, and take that out into the world. So I just want to say that Shay has something else to say. I can't. I learned from Susie Orman to make a statement for yourself. The truth, I truth about money. My truth is I deserve to have a way more money than I need.
Uh-huh. Nice. But that's a really good point. I like that. It's an I statement. That's a knowing. I am the source of all my money. I know money is mine. I know that I am always sourced and supplied. Those are all standing in that alignment, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So Shay, we missed you. Thank you for missing us too. We miss you all when you are out there and then you disappear for a while, but we love you and we're so glad you're here. And hopefully this helped you. If there's something special you want to hear us talk about, make sure and let us know. And you can look forward to Shay on the 25th and Radical Self-Care. And next week you can look forward to us and see what you get. All right. Sending out prayers and love to Michael and Diana, and knowing that all went well this morning with their endeavors. And that's why Michael isn't here. And just knowing that really, truly, it's time to keep rocking the love, you all. The world needs it. So
thank you so much. Blessings.
Bye.